Maya Rodriguez pressed her face against the cold window of the city bus, watching the gleaming towers of downtown fade into the distance. At 17, she made this journey every day, from the crumbling apartment buildings of East Valley to the pristine halls of Lincoln High School, where she cleaned classrooms for $3 an hour after classes ended. The other students didn't know her real story. They saw her worn sneakers and second-hand clothes, heard her mother's thick accent during the rare parent conferences, and made their assumptions. Maya had learned to keep her head down, finish her work, and dream in silence. But today was different. Today, she had heard something that changed everything. The Lincoln High Talent Showcase, the poster had announced in bold letters. First prize, $5,000 scholarship and performance opportunity at the Crystal Palace Theater. Maya had stared at those words until the janitor, Mr. Peterson, gently reminded her that the hallway needed mopping. $5,000. It was more money than her family saw in 6 months. Her mother, Carmen, worked double shifts at the textile factory, her fingers raw from the machines, her back bent from years of labor. Her younger brother, Diego, wore shoes with holes that Carmen tried to patch with cardboard. $5,000 could change everything. But the talent showcase wasn't for people like Maya. It was for students like Jennifer Walsh, whose father owned 3 car dealerships and who had taken voice lessons since she was 5. It was for kids like Marcus Chen, whose violin had cost more than Maya's family paid in rent for 3 months. Maya finished mopping the hallway and moved to the music room. This was her favorite part of the job, not because the work was easier, but because of the silence. In this room, with its high ceilings and perfect acoustics, Maya could pretend she belonged. She was wiping down the piano when she heard footsteps. Mrs. Anderson, the music teacher, appeared in the doorway with an armload of sheet music. "Oh, Maya, I didn't expect anyone to still be here," Mrs. Anderson said kindly. She was one of the few teachers who actually knew Maya's name. "Almost done, Mrs. Anderson," Maya replied, quickening her pace. "Take your time." Mrs. Anderson set down the music and began organizing it. "Are you interested in music, Maya? I've noticed you always spend extra time in here." Maya's cheeks burned. "I just like the quiet." Mrs. Anderson nodded, but Maya caught her looking thoughtful. "You know, I'm holding auditions for the talent showcase next week. We need more participants." Maya's heart jumped, but she forced her voice to stay steady. "That sounds nice. Have you ever sung before? Played an instrument?" The question hung in the air. Maya had sung. In the shower, walking to school while she worked. She sang to Diego when he couldn't sleep because of the shouting from the apartment upstairs. She sang to herself when the weight of everything felt too heavy. But she had never sung for anyone who mattered. "A little," Maya whispered. Mrs. Anderson's eyes lit up. "Would you like to try something? Just for fun?" Maya's hands trembled as she gripped the mop handle. Every rational part of her brain screamed no. She couldn't embarrass herself in front of a teacher. She couldn't risk the job her family desperately needed. She couldn't pretend to be something she wasn't. But a tiny voice inside her whispered yes. I don't know any proper songs," Maya admitted. "That's okay. Do you know any songs at all? Anything you've heard on the radio?" Maya nodded slowly. There was one song her grandmother used to sing, a beautiful Mexican ballad called La Llorona. Carmen had taught it to her when she was small, before life had worn away most of their music. Mrs. Anderson settled into a chair, giving Maya her full attention. "Whenever you're ready." Maya closed her eyes and let the first notes escape her lips. Her voice started small, uncertain, but as the familiar melody took hold, something magical happened. The room seemed to expand around her, the walls disappearing as her voice grew stronger, richer, more confident. She sang of sorrow and hope, of love and loss, her voice carrying every emotion she had ever felt but never expressed. The words flowed in Spanish, then seamlessly shifted to English as she translated the meaning with her heart rather than her mind. When the last note faded, silence filled the room. Maya opened her eyes to find Mrs. Anderson staring at her, tears streaming down the teacher's face. "Maya," Mrs. Anderson whispered, "how long have you been hiding this gift?" Maya's throat felt tight. "I'm sorry, I should get back to work." "No." Mrs. Anderson stood up quickly. "Don't apologize. That was extraordinary. I've been teaching music for 20 years, and I've rarely heard anything so beautiful." Maya didn't know what to say. No one had ever called anything about her extraordinary. "I want you to audition for the showcase," Mrs. Anderson said firmly. "Not because you need the opportunity, because the showcase needs you." Maya shook her head. "I can't. I'm not like the other students. I don't have fancy clothes or training or—" "You have something much more valuable. You have a gift. And gifts like yours don't come along often." That night, Maya sat on the fire escape outside her family's apartment, looking out over the city lights. Through the thin walls, she could hear her mother on the phone with her sister, speaking in rapid Spanish about overdue bills and cut-off notices. Diego found her there an hour later, climbing out through the window with his homework. "Why are you sitting out here?" he asked, settling beside her. "Just thinking." "About what?" Maya hesitated. Diego was only 14, but he was mature beyond his years. Poverty had a way of growing children up fast. "There's this contest at school," she said finally. "A singing contest." Diego's eyes widened. "Are you going to enter?" "I don't know. The winner gets $5,000. "5,000? Diego whistled low. "Maya, that's like winning the lottery. But I'm not good enough. The other kids, they've had lessons and training and expensive equipment. I've just got—" She gestured vaguely at herself. Diego was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Remember when I was 8 and I wanted to try out for the basketball team?" Maya nodded. She remembered. "You told me that talent wasn't about having the best shoes or the newest basketball. You said it was about heart, about wanting it more than everyone else." Diego looked at her seriously. "Do you want this more than everyone else?" The question hit Maya right in the chest. Did she want it? She thought about her mother's tired eyes, about Diego's patched shoes, about the dreams she had never dared to speak aloud. Yes, she realized. She wanted it more than she had ever wanted anything. The next day, Maya found Mrs. Anderson before classes started. "I want to audition," she said simply. Mrs. Anderson's face broke into a huge smile. "Wonderful. After school today?" Maya nodded, her stomach already churning with nerves. The audition was private, just Maya and Mrs. Anderson in the music room. Maya sang the same song as the day before, but this time she wasn't cleaning. This time, she was performing. Mrs. Anderson listened with the same intense attention, and when Maya finished, the teacher was quiet for a long moment. "Maya, I'm going to be honest with you. You have natural talent that most singers spend years trying to develop. But you're going to need help if you want to win this competition." Maya's heart sank. Of course she needed help. She needed voice lessons and coaching and all the things her family couldn't afford. But Mrs. Anderson continued, "I'd like to work with you. Every day after school for the next 3 weeks. We'll choose the perfect song, work on your breathing and stage presence, and get you ready to show everyone what you can do." "I can't pay for lessons," Maya said quietly. "Did I ask for payment?" Mrs. Anderson smiled. "Consider it an investment in the future. Besides, I suspect you'll be working during our sessions anyway, just not with a mop." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" "Because 23 years ago, I was a girl from the wrong side of town with a dream and a music teacher who believed in me. It's time to pass it forward." The next 3 weeks blurred together in a haze of music and hope. Every day after her cleaning duties, Maya stayed in the music room with Mrs. Anderson. They worked on breathing techniques, posture, and song interpretation. Mrs. Anderson helped Maya choose Rise Up by Andra Day, a song that spoke to Maya's journey and showcased her voice's power and range. Maya practiced everywhere. She sang while mopping floors, while walking to school, while helping Diego with his homework. Carmen noticed the change in her daughter and asked gentle questions, but Maya wasn't ready to share her dream yet. What if she failed? What if she embarrassed herself and lost everything? The night before the showcase, Maya couldn't sleep. She sat in the kitchen, going over the lyrics one more time, when Carmen appeared in her robe. "Mija, what's wrong? You've been different lately." Maya looked up at her mother, this woman who had sacrificed everything to give her children a chance at a better life. Carmen's hands were permanently stained from the factory dyes. Her back stooped from years of bending over machines. But her eyes were still bright with love and hope. "Mama," Maya said softly, "what if I told you I had a chance to win $5,000? Carmen's eyebrows shot up. "I would ask how, and I would worry about what you might have to do for such money." Maya laughed despite her nerves. "By singing. There's a talent contest at school tomorrow night. First prize is $5,000 and a scholarship." Carmen was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and took Maya's hands in her own rough ones. "And you can win this?" "I don't know. Maybe. Mrs. Anderson thinks so." "Then you will try. And whatever happens, I will be proud of you for trying." Maya felt the tears come then, all the pressure and fear and hope she had been carrying for weeks. Carmen held her daughter until the crying stopped, whispering the same song she had sung when Maya was small. The day of the showcase arrived gray and drizzly. Maya went through her classes in a daze, her mind focused on the evening ahead. By the time she finished her cleaning duties, her hands were shaking. Mrs. Anderson found her in the music room, staring at her reflection in the black piano. "Second thoughts?" the teacher asked gently. "A million of them. That's normal. Even professional singers get nervous. The difference is they sing anyway." Maya nodded, trying to absorb the wisdom. "What if I forget the words? What if my voice cracks? What if—" "Maya," Mrs. Anderson sat down beside her. "Do you remember what you told me the first day we worked together? You said you weren't like the other students, that you didn't have fancy clothes or training." Maya nodded. "You were right. You're not like them. You're better, because while they were learning technique, you were learning life. While they were taking lessons, you were living the emotions that make music real. That pain in your voice, that hope, that strength. You can't teach that. You either have it or you don't. And you have it in spades." At 7 o'clock, Maya stood backstage in the school auditorium, listening to the other contestants perform. Jennifer Walsh sang a technically perfect version of a Broadway song, her voice clear and controlled. Marcus Chen played a complex piece on violin that drew appreciative murmurs from the audience. Maya wore her best dress, a simple blue one Carmen had bought for her quinceañera 3 years ago. It was too small now, but it was all she had. Her shoes were clean but old, her makeup borrowed from a classmate. She felt small and out of place among the other performers in their designer outfits and professional stage makeup. But when Mrs. Anderson introduced her and she walked onto the stage, something shifted. The lights were bright, but not harsh. The audience was large, but not intimidating. This was her moment, the moment she had been preparing for without knowing it her whole life. Maya stepped up to the microphone and looked out at the sea of faces. In the third row, she spotted her family. Carmen had left work early and brought Diego, both of them dressed in their Sunday best. Carmen's face was shining with pride and nervousness. The opening notes of "Rise Up" began to play from the piano, and Maya opened her mouth and let her voice soar. From the first word, she knew this was different from every other performance of the night. This wasn't just singing, this was storytelling, truth-telling, soul-sharing. Maya sang about rising up despite the mountains in her way, and every person in that audience could feel the weight of the mountains she had climbed. Her voice built and swelled, filling every corner of the auditorium. She sang about hope and determination and the refusal to give up, and her own story poured through every note. This was for her mother's aching back, for Diego's cardboard shoes, for every dream that had been deferred but not abandoned. When she reached the chorus, something magical happened. A few voices in the audience began to hum along, then more joined in. By the final chorus, half the auditorium was singing with her, their voices lifting hers even higher. Maya sang the last note with everything she had, her voice ringing clear and strong in the sudden silence that followed. Then the auditorium exploded. People leaped to their feet, applauding and cheering. Maya saw teachers crying, students shouting, parents reaching for their phones to record the moment. Mrs. Anderson was beaming from the side of the stage, tears streaming down her face. But Maya only had eyes for her family. Carmen was sobbing openly, her hands pressed to her heart. Diego was on his feet, pumping his fist in the air and yelling, "That's my sister!" at anyone who would listen. Maya walked off the stage in a daze. She had done it. She had shared her gift with the world, and the world had embraced her. The next hour passed in a blur of congratulations and interviews with local reporters who had come to cover the event. Maya answered questions and smiled for photos, but part of her was still floating somewhere above the stage, replaying the moment when her voice had carried her dreams into reality. When the judges announced the results, Maya was sitting with her family in the auditorium, her hands clasped tightly in Carmen's. "Third place," the announcer began, "with a prize of $1,000 goes to Marcus Chen for his violin performance." Polite applause. Maya's stomach clenched. "Second place, with a prize of $2,000, goes to Jennifer Walsh for her vocal performance." Louder applause. Maya felt dizzy. "And first place, with a scholarship prize of $5,000 and a performance opportunity at the Crystal Palace Theater, goes to—" The pause felt endless. "Maya Rodriguez for her powerful vocal performance of Rise Up." The auditorium erupted again, but Maya couldn't hear it over the rushing in her ears. $5,000. She had won. She had actually won. 6 months after winning the Lincoln High Talent Showcase, Maya Rodriguez stared at the rejection letter in her hands, the words blurring through her tears. "We appreciate your interest in Berklee College of Music, but we regret to inform you." It was the 7th rejection in 3 weeks. Juilliard, Curtis, Manhattan School of Music, all polite no's, all variations on the same theme. Talented, but not what they were looking for. Impressive, but not quite ready. Good luck in your future endeavors. Maya crumpled the letter and threw it toward the wastebasket in her family's tiny kitchen. It missed, joining the other rejection letters scattered on the worn linoleum floor. "Mija?" Carmen's voice was gentle as she entered the kitchen after her shift at the factory. Her daughter sat slumped at the table, still wearing her McDonald's uniform from her after-school job. "Another no," Maya said without looking up. Carmen picked up the scattered letters, smoothing them out before setting them on the counter. She had done this 6 times before, each rejection breaking her heart as much as it broke Maya's. "Maybe it's a sign," Maya continued, her voice flat. "Maybe I should forget this crazy dream and focus on real life." "Real life?" Carmen sat down across from her daughter. "Maya, your real life is that gift in your throat. Don't let some letters from strangers convince you otherwise." Maya finally looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "But what if they're right? What if winning one high school contest doesn't mean anything in the real world?" Before Carmen could answer, Diego burst through the front door, his backpack flying as he kicked off his shoes. At 15, he was taller than Maya now, all legs and enthusiasm. "Did you hear back from any schools today?" he asked, his face bright with hope. Maya's expression was answer enough. Diego's smile faded. "They're all idiots," he said fiercely. "Anyone who doesn't want Maya Rodriguez is an idiot." Despite her pain, Maya smiled slightly. "It doesn't work that way, Diego." "Then make it work that way," he shot back. "Remember what you told me about the basketball team, about heart and wanting it more than everyone else? You think you wanted it less today than you did 6 months ago?" Maya shook her head. If anything, she wanted it more. The taste of success from the showcase had only made her hungry for more. Every day she didn't sing professionally felt like a day wasted. "Then don't give up," Diego said simply. "Find another way." That weekend, Maya took the bus downtown to the Crystal Palace Theater, where she had performed twice since winning the showcase. The theater manager, Roberto Santos, had become a mentor of sorts, offering her small gigs opening for touring acts. She found Roberto in his office, surrounded by stacks of contracts and promotional materials. "Maya!" He looked up with a smile that quickly faded when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" Maya slumped into the chair across from his desk. "I've been rejected by every music school I applied to. 7 schools, 7 no's." Roberto leaned back in his chair, studying her. "And this surprises you? I thought, after winning the showcase, after the performances here, I thought—" "You thought one local contest would open every door in America?" Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks. "It sounds stupid when you say it like that." "Not stupid, naive." Roberto's voice was kind but firm. "Maya, you have an incredible gift. But the music industry isn't a fairy tale. Success doesn't come from one big break. It comes from 1,000 small ones, and the persistence to keep going when everything looks impossible." "So what am I supposed to do? Keep singing at high school graduations and local festivals forever?" Roberto smiled. "No. You're supposed to get smart about this. Those schools? They want students who fit their mold, who've had years of classical training and can afford their tuition. But there are other paths." He pulled out a business card from his desk drawer. "There's a woman named Elena Vasquez who runs a recording studio here in the city. She specializes in working with raw talent, kids who have the gift but not the polish. She's been asking me about you since your last performance." Maya took the card. The address was in a part of downtown she'd never been to. "She wants to meet me?" "She wants to hear you sing, but Maya—" Roberto's expression grew serious. "This isn't like high school. Elena works with professionals. If you walk into her studio, you better be ready to work harder than you've ever worked in your life." Maya stared at the card. Elena Vasquez, music producer. The letters seemed to glow with possibility. "What do I have to lose?" she said finally. "Everything," Roberto replied. "And that's exactly why you should do it." 2 days later, Maya stood outside Harmony Studios, a converted warehouse in the Arts District. The building looked rough from the outside, its brick walls covered with colorful graffiti murals. But as she pushed open the glass doors, she heard something that made her heart race. Music. Real music. Professional music. The kind that made her skin tingle and her soul ache with longing. The receptionist, a young woman with purple hair and multiple piercings, looked up from her computer. "You must be Maya. Elena's expecting you in Studio B." Maya walked down a hallway lined with gold and platinum records, her palms sweating. Through the glass windows of various studios, she could see musicians at work. A rapper laying down tracks, a full band in the middle of a session, a singer harmonizing with herself through multiple recordings. Studio B was smaller than the others, more intimate. Elena Vasquez stood with her back to the door, adjusting something on a massive mixing board. She was younger than Maya had expected, maybe early 30s, with close-cropped black hair and an aura of intense focus. "Maya Rodriguez," Elena said without turning around. "The girl who made 500 people cry at the Crystal Palace." "You were there?" Elena finally turned, her dark eyes taking in Maya from head to toe. "I was. Afterward, I told Roberto that you were either going to be a star or you were going to break your own heart trying. Still not sure which one it's going to be." Maya felt exposed under that steady gaze. "Roberto said you might be willing to work with me." "Work with you?" Elena laughed, but it wasn't mean. "Honey, I don't work with people, I work with artists. Question is, are you an artist or are you a dreamer?" "I don't understand the difference." Elena gestured to a chair across from the mixing board. "Dreamers think talent is enough. They think because they can sing in the shower, they can make it in the music industry. Artists understand that talent is just the beginning. They're willing to bleed for their craft." Maya sat down, her back straight. "I'm willing to bleed." "We'll see." Elena picked up a sheet of music from the piano. "You know this song?" Maya looked at the sheet. "Hallelujah," by Leonard Cohen. "Yes, but..." "Sing it." "Right now?" "Right now. No warm-up, no preparation. Show me what you've got when everything isn't perfect." Maya stood up on shaky legs. This wasn't like the showcase, where she'd had weeks to prepare. This was raw, immediate, terrifying. She closed her eyes and began to sing. The first verse came out rough, her voice catching slightly on the higher notes. But as she moved into the chorus, something shifted. The studio's acoustics wrapped around her voice like silk, and she found herself getting lost in the haunting melody. When she finished, Elena was quiet for a long moment. "Again," she said finally. "This time, don't just sing the words. Tell me a story." Maya sang it again, this time pouring her recent rejections and frustrations into the melancholy lyrics. Her voice grew stronger, more confident, more emotional. "Better," Elena said when she finished. "Again. This time, make me believe you've lived every word of that song." They went through the song 6 more times, Elena pushing Maya to dig deeper, to find new meanings in familiar lyrics, to connect her voice to her soul in ways she'd never attempted. By the time Elena finally said, "Stop," Maya was exhausted, her throat raw, her emotions wrung out like a dish rag. "So," Elena said, settling back in her chair, "do you want the good news or the bad news first?" Maya's heart sank. "Bad news first. You're about 6 months away from being ready for anything professional. Your breath control needs work, your stage presence is inconsistent, and you rely too much on raw emotion instead of technical skill." Maya nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. "The good news," Elena continued, "is that you have something I can't teach. You have truth in your voice. When you sing, people feel it in their bones. That's rare. Rarer than perfect pitch, rarer than technical perfection." "So what does that mean?" Elena stood up and walked to the window overlooking the busy street. "It means I'm willing to take a chance on you, but it has to be all or nothing. 3 times a week, after school and on weekends. We'll work on everything: breathing, technique, performance, songwriting. I'll introduce you to the industry, get you in front of people who matter. I can't afford..." "I'm not talking about money," Elena interrupted. "I'm talking about sacrifice. You'll have to give up everything else. Friends, social life, other jobs. Music has to become your religion. Can you do that?" Maya thought about her job at McDonald's, the money her family desperately needed. She thought about the few friends she'd managed to make at school, the normal teenage experiences she'd already missed out on. Then she thought about the feeling of standing on that stage 6 months ago, of sharing her gift with the world. Yes, she said without hesitation. I can do that. Elena smiled for the first time since Maya had arrived. Good. We start Monday. And Maya, bring tissues. You're going to cry a lot in the next 6 months. Elena wasn't exaggerating. The next few months were the hardest of Maya's life. 3 times a week, she took 2 buses across the city to get to Harmony Studios after school, sometimes not getting home until after midnight. Elena was a demanding teacher, pushing Maya far beyond what she thought she was capable of. They worked on breathing exercises until Maya's ribs ached. They deconstructed songs word by word, note by note, until Maya could find 15 different ways to sing the same phrase. Emotion without technique is just noise, Elena would say when Maya got frustrated. Technique without emotion is just elevator music. You need both. Maya had to quit her job at McDonald's, which meant less money for her family but more time for music. Carmen picked up extra shifts at the factory to compensate, her already tired face growing more haggard with exhaustion. Are you sure this is worth it, mija? Carmen asked one night, massaging her swollen hands after a 16-hour day. Maya looked at her mother's sacrificed hands, at the bills piling up on the kitchen table, at Diego wearing shoes that were more tape than leather. I don't know, she admitted, but I have to try. If I don't try now, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what if. Carmen nodded slowly. Then we try together. At school, Maya's grades began to slip. She was too tired to focus in class, too distracted by the songs in her head to pay attention to algebra and American history. Mrs. Anderson, still her strongest supporter, pulled her aside one day after class. Maya, your teachers are concerned. Your GPA has dropped below the requirement for most scholarship programs. Maya rubbed her eyes, feeling the weight of exhaustion. I know. I'm trying to balance everything. Maybe you're trying to balance too much. Perhaps you should take a step back from the music temporarily, focus on your academics. No. The word came out sharper than Maya intended. I'm sorry, Mrs. Anderson, but I can't step back. This is my chance. Mrs. Anderson looked worried. But what if it doesn't work out? You need a backup plan. Maya thought about Elena's words from the week before. Backup plans are for people who don't really want their dreams to come true. My backup plan is making sure it works out, Maya said firmly. By winter, Maya felt like she was living 3 different lives. At school, she was the tired girl who dozed off in history class. At home, she was the daughter whose dreams were putting financial strain on an already struggling family. And at Harmony Studios, she was becoming something new, an artist. Elena had introduced her to other musicians, and slowly, Maya began to build a network in the city's music scene. She sang backup vocals on a few recordings, performed at open mic nights, and even auditioned for a few small record labels. Each audition was a learning experience, though not always a pleasant one. At Blue Sky Records, an executive told her she was too ethnic for their target demographic. At Stellar Music, they said her sound was too raw, not radio-friendly enough. At Phoenix Entertainment, they loved her voice but wanted her to lose weight and dye her hair blonde. After each rejection, Maya would call Elena, sometimes crying so hard she could barely speak. Welcome to the music industry, Elena would say, where talent is just one ingredient in a very complicated recipe. Maybe they're right, Maya said after the Phoenix audition. Maybe I need to change who I am to make it. If you change who you are, you'll lose what makes you special, Elena replied firmly. The right opportunity will come, but only if you stay true to yourself. In January, that opportunity finally arrived. Elena called Maya on a Thursday night, her voice crackling with excitement. There's a new label starting up called Roots Music. They specialize in authentic, diverse voices. The founder, Michael Chen, yes, he's Marcus Chen's uncle, heard your recording of La Llorona and wants to meet with you. Maya's heart raced. A real record deal? Don't get ahead of yourself. It's a meeting. But Maya, this could be it. This could be the break you've been working for. The meeting was scheduled for the following Monday at Roots Music's offices downtown. Maya spent the weekend preparing, practicing songs with Elena and trying not to let her nerves overwhelm her. On Monday morning, she put on her best dress, a new one Carmen had somehow found money to buy despite their tight budget, and took the bus downtown. Roots Music occupied the top floor of a sleek office building, its walls covered with photographs of musicians from around the world. Maya was shown into a conference room where 3 people waited for her. Michael Chen was younger than she'd expected, probably in his late 20s, with the same intense eyes as his nephew Marcus. Beside him sat a woman named Sarah Williams, the label's A&R director, and a man introduced as David Rodriguez, head of artist development. "Maya," Michael said, standing to shake her hand. "Thank you for coming. Elena has told us wonderful things about you." Maya sat down, her hands folded carefully in her lap. "Thank you for the opportunity." "We've listened to your recordings," Sarah said, consulting a tablet in front of her. "Your voice is truly exceptional, but we'd like to hear something live, if you don't mind." Maya nodded, standing up. She had prepared for this, choosing Rise Up, the song that had started everything. As she began to sing in that conference room, with the city sprawling out through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her, Maya felt the same magic she'd experienced on the Lincoln High stage. Her voice filled the space, carrying all the hope and struggle and determination of the past year. When she finished, the room was silent. Michael was the first to speak. "That was, extraordinary." Sarah was nodding enthusiastically. "We'd like to offer you a development deal." Maya's heart leaped. "A record deal?" "Not exactly," David explained. "A development deal means we invest in your career for the next year. We provide professional recording time, top-notch producers, media training, and performance opportunities. If things go well, it leads to a full recording contract." "It's not a guarantee," Michael added honestly, "but it's a real shot at making it in this industry." Maya thought about her mother's exhausted face, about Diego's patched shoes, about all the rejections and late nights and sacrifices of the past year. "What do you need from me?" she asked. Sarah smiled. "Just keep being Maya Rodriguez. Keep singing with that truth in your voice. Keep believing in yourself even when it feels impossible." As Maya rode the bus home that evening with a development contract in her bag, she thought about how much her life had changed since the night she'd first sung in the Lincoln High music room. She was still the girl from East Valley, still faced barriers and challenges every day, but she was also something new, an artist, a professional, a young woman who had refused to let anyone else define her limits. The real work was just beginning, but for the first time in months, Maya Rodriguez felt like she was exactly where she belonged. 1 year after signing with Roots Music, Maya Rodriguez sat in the green room of The Tonight Show, staring at her reflection in the mirror and trying not to throw up. In 30 minutes, she would walk onto one of the most famous stages in America and perform her debut single for millions of viewers. The song, Rising Tides, had been climbing the charts for 8 weeks, and tonight's performance could launch her from promising newcomer to household name. But right now, all Maya could think about was how far she'd come from that scared girl cleaning classrooms at Lincoln High. The development deal with Roots Music had been everything Michael Chen had promised and more. For 12 months, Maya had lived and breathed music. Professional recording sessions, media training, vocal coaching, performance workshops. Every day had brought new challenges and new growth. Her first professional recording session had been both thrilling and terrifying. Working with producer Jamie Morrison, who had worked with Grammy-winning artists, Maya had felt completely out of her depth. "Forget everything you think you know about singing," Jamie had told her on that first day. We're going to rebuild your sound from the ground up." It had been frustrating at first. Jamie pushed Maya to experiment with her voice in ways Elena never had, exploring different genres and styles, finding the unique sound that would become her signature. "You have the raw material," Jamie explained during one particularly difficult session. "But raw materials aren't enough. We need to craft something that's authentically you, but also commercially viable." They had written songs together, Maya drawing from her experiences growing up in East Valley, Jamie helping her translate those emotions into lyrics that would resonate with audiences everywhere. Rising Tides had emerged from a writing session where Maya talked about feeling like she was drowning in obstacles but refusing to go under. The recording process had taken months. Maya learned about harmonies and arrangements, about the difference between singing live and singing for a recording. She made mistakes, had creative disagreements with Jamie, and more than once wondered if she was in over her head. But slowly, something magical began to emerge. Maya's voice, supported by professional production and sophisticated arrangements, became something powerful and distinctive. The songs she was creating were personal, yet universal, rooted in her specific experience, but speaking to anyone who had ever fought for their dreams. The business side of the music industry had been harder to navigate than the creative side. Maya had to learn about contracts, royalties, publishing rights, and image management. Sarah Williams, her A&R representative, became a mentor and guide through the complex world of music marketing. "Your story is part of your appeal," Sarah explained during one of their strategy sessions. "People connect with authenticity. But we need to be careful not to exploit your background or make you into a symbol rather than an artist." It was a delicate balance. Maya wanted to honor where she came from without being defined solely by her struggles. She was proud of being from East Valley, proud of her family's sacrifices. But she also wanted to be seen as a complete artist, not just an inspiring story. The first time she heard Rising Tides on the radio, Maya was driving with Diego to his basketball practice. The familiar opening notes filled the car, and both siblings sat in stunned silence as Maya's voice poured from the speakers. "That's you," Diego said in amazement when the song ended. "That's actually you on the radio." Maya pulled over to the side of the road, her hands shaking. Hearing her voice on the radio made everything real in a way that recording sessions and meetings never had. She was no longer just a girl with a dream. She was a professional recording artist. But success brought new challenges. As Rising Tides gained popularity, Maya's life changed dramatically. She had to hire a manager, deal with interview requests, and navigate the pressure of public scrutiny. The hardest part was the time away from family. Recording, touring, and promotion meant Maya was often gone for weeks at a time. Carmen tried to hide her loneliness, but Maya could see the strain in her mother's eyes during their video calls. "I'm proud of you, mija," Carmen would say, "but I miss my daughter." Maya missed her family, too. Missed the simplicity of her old life, even as she was grateful for her new opportunities. Success, she was learning, came with its own set of sacrifices. The criticism was difficult to handle as well. Not everyone appreciated Maya's music or her rapid rise to fame. Online comments ranged from supportive to cruel, with some people questioning whether she deserved her success. "They're saying I only got a record deal because I'm a sob story," Maya told Elena during one of their weekly check-ins. "And what do they say about your voice?" Elena asked. Maya was quiet for a moment. Even the negative reviews acknowledged her vocal talent. "They say I can sing," she admitted. "Then let your voice do the talking. The rest is just noise." As Rising Tides continued to climb the charts, opportunities multiplied. Maya was invited to perform at award shows, collaborate with established artists, and appear on television programs. Each opportunity was exciting but also nerve-wracking. The breakthrough moment came when legendary singer Diana Ross asked Maya to perform with her at a charity gala. Standing on stage next to one of her idols, singing a duet for an audience of music industry luminaries, Maya felt like she had truly arrived. After the performance, Diana took Maya aside backstage. "You have something special," the icon said. "But don't let this industry change who you are. Your authenticity is your power. Never lose that." Those words stayed with Maya as her career continued to ascend. When Rolling Stone put her on their Artists to Watch cover, when her album went gold, when she won her first industry award, through it all, she tried to remember Diana's advice. Now, sitting in the Tonight Show green room, Maya thought about all the people who had helped her get to this moment. Elena, who had taught her to be an artist. Mrs. Anderson, who had first encouraged her to share her gift. Roberto, who had given her early opportunities to perform. Her family, who had sacrificed everything to support her dreams. A production assistant knocked on the door. "5 minutes, Maya." Maya stood up, smoothing down the dress her stylist had chosen. A stunning blue gown that somehow managed to be both elegant and approachable. Her hair was professionally styled, her makeup flawless. But when she looked in the mirror, she still saw the girl from East Valley. She pulled out her phone and called Carmen, who she knew would be gathered with Diego and extended family to watch the show. "Mija!" Carmen's voice was warm and excited. "We're all here. The whole neighborhood is watching." "I'm nervous, Mama." "Good. That means it matters to you. Sing like you did when you were cleaning those classrooms, like you did at the talent show. Sing with your heart." Maya smiled, feeling some of the tension leave her shoulders. "I love you. Te amo, mija. Now go show the world what we already know, that you are extraordinary." Maya walked down the hallway toward the stage, her heels clicking on the polished floor. She could hear the show's host introducing her, hear the applause of the studio audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, performing her hit single Rising Tides, please welcome Maya Rodriguez." Maya stepped onto the stage, the bright lights warming her face. The audience applauded enthusiastically, but she barely heard them. All her attention was focused on the moment, on the song she was about to share. The opening notes began, and Maya stepped up to the microphone. For a split second, she thought about how surreal this moment was. A girl who used to clean this very network's offices was now performing on their biggest show. Then she opened her mouth and began to sing. The song poured out of her with all the emotion and power she had developed over the past 2 years. She sang about rising above circumstances, about refusing to be held down by other people's limitations, about the strength that comes from struggle. As she moved through the verses and into the soaring chorus, Maya could feel the audience with her. In the front row, she spotted celebrities singing along. The camera operators were smiling. Even the usually stoic host was nodding to the rhythm. When she reached the bridge, the part of the song that had made her cry the first time she wrote it, Maya closed her eyes and sang directly from her soul. She sang for every person who had ever been told they weren't good enough, every dreamer who had faced rejection, every individual fighting to rise above their circumstances. The final chorus built to a crescendo that filled the entire studio. Maya's voice soared over the instruments, clear and powerful and absolutely authentic. When she hit the last note and let it ring out into silence, the studio exploded in applause. People in the audience were on their feet, shouting and cheering. The host was shaking his head in amazement. Maya smiled and waved, her heart pounding with adrenaline and joy. As she walked off the stage, she knew that this performance would change everything. The show would be seen by millions, the video would go viral, and by tomorrow morning, Maya Rodriguez would be known across the country. But more important than the career implications was what the moment represented. Standing on that stage, sharing her gift with the world, Maya had proven something to herself and everyone else, that dreams really could come true, that barriers really could be overcome, that a voice raised in truth and hope could reach any height. 3 months later, Maya stood in the backyard of the new house she had bought for her family in a safe neighborhood across town. It wasn't a mansion. Maya was too practical for that, but it was comfortable, with enough space for everyone and a yard where Diego could practice basketball. Carmen was in the kitchen, cooking dinner for Maya's band and management team who were visiting. Through the window, Maya could see her mother laughing with Elena and Sarah, the 3 women who had become her closest advisors and friends. Diego was in the driveway, showing off his basketball skills to anyone who would watch. At 17, he was being recruited by several colleges, his own dreams finally within reach thanks to the stability Maya's success had brought to their family. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Michael Chen. "Just got off the phone with the Grammy committee. Rising Tides has been nominated for Best New Artist and Song of the Year. Congratulations, superstar." Maya stared at the message, hardly believing it. Grammy nominations. A year ago, she had been trying to figure out how to pay for her family's groceries. She walked inside, where the chaos of dinner preparation was underway. Elena was helping Carmen with the rice, sharing stories about Maya's early training days. Sarah was on her laptop, managing the endless details of Maya's growing career. "What's that smile about?" Elena asked, noticing Maya's expression. "Grammy nominations," Maya said simply. The kitchen erupted in cheers and congratulations. Carmen dropped her spoon and hugged her daughter tight, tears of pride and joy streaming down her face. "2 nominations?" Sarah asked, already pulling up the official announcement on her computer. Maya nodded, still in shock. "Best New Artist and Song of the Year." "You know what this means?" Elena said with a grin. "You're going to have to learn how to walk in a really fancy dress." Everyone laughed, but Maya was thinking about something deeper. The Grammy nominations were wonderful, but they weren't what made her successful. Success wasn't measured in awards or chart positions or magazine covers. Success was the look of pride in her mother's eyes, the fact that Diego could pursue his dreams without worrying about money, the letters from young fans who said her music had inspired them to keep fighting for their own goals. Success was the little girl from East Valley who had refused to let anyone else define her limits, who had turned her pain into power and her dreams into reality. That evening, as Maya sat on her back porch looking up at the stars, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. Every rejection, every late night of practice, every moment of doubt had been worth it to reach this point. Her phone rang. It was Mrs. Anderson, her old music teacher. "I just heard about the Grammy nominations," Mrs. Anderson said, her voice thick with emotion. "Maya, I am so incredibly proud of you." "Thank you," Maya said, "for everything, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. I just saw what was already there. You did all the work." After they hung up, Maya continued to sit in the peaceful evening, listening to the sounds of her family and friends inside the house. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new pressures. The music industry would continue to demand more from her. Fans would have higher expectations. Critics would scrutinize every choice she made. But tonight, Maya Rodriguez was exactly where she belonged. She had risen above every barrier placed in her path, overcome every obstacle through determination and talent, and the unwavering belief that her voice deserved to be heard. She had proven that a girl from East Valley could reach any height, that authentic talent and hard work could overcome any disadvantage, that dreams combined with determination were an unstoppable force. Maya smiled and went inside to join her family, ready for whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead. She had found her voice, and nothing could silence it now. The girl who had once cleaned classrooms in silence had become a woman whose voice could fill stadiums, whose songs could inspire millions, whose success proved that in America, talent and perseverance could still overcome any barrier. Maya Rodriguez had risen above it all, and her story was just beginning. Carmen grabbed her daughter and hugged her tight, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. Diego was jumping up and down, high-fiving strangers. Around them, people were standing and applauding, calling her name. Mrs. Anderson appeared beside them, her face glowing with pride. "I told you that you had something special," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Maya accepted the oversized check and the scholarship certificate, posed for more photos, and gave a brief acceptance speech that she would never remember. But what she would remember forever was the moment she looked out at the audience and realized that she had done something extraordinary. She had taken her pain and her hope and her dreams and turned them into something beautiful. She had proved that talent and determination could overcome any barrier. She had shown the world that a girl from East Valley could shine just as bright as anyone else. As her family walked to the bus stop that night, Maya clutched the scholarship certificate to her chest. The money would help, but the real prize was bigger than any dollar amount. She had found her voice, literally and figuratively, and she knew now that nothing could silence it. The lights of downtown glittered in the distance, no longer seeming impossibly far away. For the first time in her life, Maya Rodriguez felt like they were calling her name.